So this was Caitlin Clark's return to the Indiana Fever. She has been out with a groin injury. She started the game and Lexi Hall lost her starting spot to Caitlin Clark. That Caitlin Clark was playing off the ball quite a bit, and I feel like if you've been a fan of Caitlin Clark, if you've watched her play, she just doesn't really do well playing off the ball. She ended the night with 10 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. She was 2 for 5 from the 3 and 4 for 12 from the field.
Caitlin Clark drives ratings like no one else, said ESPN's Rebecca Lobo. But just how big is her influence? 2.8 million people tuned into her return game against the New York Liberty. And those stats don't even include the fans willing to pay over $2,000 for a ticket to see her live. How does one rookie create this kind of hype? Let me show you the insane numbers and what they mean for the future. Caitlin Clark didn't just return to the court, she returned to rewrite how we even talk about the game. And let's be clear, it's not just about basketball anymore.
It felt good to be out there. I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. I felt pretty good. I was trying to play, shorter stints, but, sometimes it's almost harder to sit on the bench and then come back into the game. So I was just kind of finding a balance of that. But, you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better and come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday. I'm just trying to get my legs under me there in the fourth quarter and get my win back a little bit, which will come over the next few games. But yeah.
Her comeback moment grabbed attention with record-breaking numbers like 2.8 million viewers tuning in. For context, that's the kind of audience you'd expect for a massive NBA regular season game, not a WNBA matchup. Very few athletes can bring this level of attention to the women's game, let alone ignite a ripple effect that touches everything from ticket sales to cultural shifts outside the arena. Now, think about this. Why does one rookie have the ability to do what full rosters have been struggling to accomplish for years? Rebecca Lobo, WNBA legend and ESPN analyst, put it bluntly. Caitlin Clark drives ratings like no one else. And she's right, but it raises the real question here. Why her? What is it about Clark that transforms ordinary games into national spectacles? Let's start with the sheer demand she generates. Her return didn't just fill seats, it forced changes. The Dallas Wings were set to play in a smaller local venue, but the anticipation to watch Clark play led to the game being moved to the American Airlines Center, an arena that holds NBA-level crowds. And even then, demand was nearly impossible to meet.
I'm not necessarily worried. I do think it's an adjustment period no matter whose star comes back and changes the dynamics of a game. They were also only playing her into 3-4 minute spurts to ease her into it. At the end of the day, what I learned from this period the last month or so is that they have a plethora of weapons. Kelsey Mitchell, who has done tremendous scoring the ball. Natasha Howard, who obviously was the MVP of that Commissioner's Cup game.
I think they just need to get everybody on the court together and play together. Yeah. Sometimes that reintegration game, that comeback game, is actually a tough one because they've been playing a certain way without her. Now you have to reintegrate her, but only in short bursts.
Want to know how wild this gets? Clark's influence isn't just limited to professional games. Ticket prices for her Iowa-Nebraska showdown earlier this year hit a jaw-dropping $2,215. People were forking out Super Bowl-level money just for a regular season college matchup. That's not only unheard of, it's game-changing. And it's not just about expensive seats. Her games consistently bring in larger crowds and higher viewership than the WNBA average. In fact, according to a midseason report, games featuring Caitlin Clark saw at least a 35% spike in attendance compared to others in the league. She's not just carrying her team, she's bringing the entire league to a bigger stage. It's no wonder brands like Nike and Gatorade want her face associated with their products. For them, she's not just an endorsement deal, she's the future. These partnerships are worth millions, and yet there's still a fraction of the influence she holds.
And even in the first quarter of play, the Indiana Fever had 16 points in the first 5 minutes of play, but they ended the first half with only 32 points. I also just noticed a lot of bad body language on the court, and it wasn't just from one player, it was multiple players on the Fever. So I don't know even what to say. Like, some of the stuff, I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what happened. Step back and shoot the three-pointer, please. There's a difference between a mid-range shot and a shot that's like around the free throw line or closer in, like around the paint area. There's a difference between that and shooting a shot that is 1.5 feet in front of the three-point line.
The buzz isn't only about what happens on the court. Off the court, Clark has a magnetic pull that few athletes, male or female, possess. Her social media following has exploded, with fans actively engaging in every post, every highlight, every press moment. The clips of her return game were all over TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter Twitter just hours after the final whistle. Fans were breaking down everything from her pre-game warm-up routine to her plays in slow motion. And here's the thing, it's not just diehard basketball fans doing this. She's crossing over into pop culture, earning attention from celebrities, influencers, and even casual sports viewers who don't typically care about women's basketball. But her return against the Liberty wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. She played with the kind of confidence and charisma that you can't teach, making no-look passes, draining logo threes, and playing with the fiery passion everyone's come to expect from her.
I mean, I try to notice as much as I can. I think, you know, when we're successful, it really starts on defense for us. I think when we're disruptive, when we're up in passing lanes, you know, defending hard, active hands, as active as they come, she's going to be aggressive. She's going to pressure you. She's going to have her hands in passing lanes. She's going to cause a little bit of havoc out there, and I think that's exactly what we need. And she's going to pick up pull, and, you know, I know that well. She guarded me a couple times last year, so I'm in here hours and hours on hours trying to get my body right and do everything I can to put myself in a position to be available the rest of the year. And, you know, that's certainly my goal, and I feel good about that. And but yeah, it's definitely challenging. And I think it's been so challenging. I think we lacked in that area versus the Sparks. We kind of just let them do whatever they want to. I thought we were a step behind. So I think that has to be intentional for our group going forward, is like we have to be a step ahead of everything.
Every possession felt like it mattered more because she was on the court. Fans watching at home weren't just seeing basketball, they were seeing what the future of the sport could look like. People on social media dubbed it a cultural reset, a moment that reminded everyone why women's basketball deserves the hype. And here's where things go beyond basketball. Clark came back, not just as an athlete, but as a movement. She represents a shift in how women's sports are viewed, marketed, and supported. Her name alone has sparked conversations about equality in sports coverage, investment, and opportunities. She's inspiring younger players to dream bigger and schools to invest more in their women's programs. Fans have even started noticing changes in how WNBA games are presented. Better production quality, more emphasis on storytelling, and higher profile broadcasts.
The entire game except the first 5 minutes of the game and then also the first few minutes of the third quarter. So overall, not a great game for the Indiana Fever. They're going to have to bounce back. They have a tough one against the Atlanta Dream on Friday. But with that, you guys, the Golden State Valkyries continue to be a team that is shocking the WNBA. They were a team that a lot of people thought were not even going to make playoffs this year. They came out with the energy. They made the adjustments on offense and on defense. They played hard the entire game. They played physical the entire game.
That's not just coincidental, it's a response to demand, a demand that Caitlin Clark in large part generated. But there's one more layer to this story. Clark isn't standing alone in her moment. She's setting the stage for a new generation of athletes who see her as proof that it's possible to transcend traditional barriers around women's sports. In a league that's often struggled for attention, Clark's presence is forcing people to rethink what's possible. And here's the wild part. We're just getting started. The numbers she's putting up aren't just stats, they're statements. Off the court, her endorsements send a clear message about marketability and value. On the court, her performances deliver where it counts most, with wins, highlights, and unforgettable moments. So yes, Caitlin Clark's return was huge, but not just for Iowa or the WNBA. It's the start of something so much bigger. She's proving every time she steps on the court that when the spotlight gets brighter, she shines even harder. And if you think it stops here, think again, because her influence isn't just about numbers or how many people show up to watch. This is about rewriting what the future of women's basketball looks like. Caitlin Clark isn't just putting up numbers, she's proving how one athlete can redefine an entire sport. Her return didn't just bring energy, it changed perceptions. People are finally seeing women's basketball for what it is: fast-paced, skilled, and worth the hype. The ripple effect is clear. Viewership grows, ticket prices soar, and younger players are starting to believe they could be next. So what does the future look like with more players like her? It's a question we should all ask ourselves. These moments need support, and honestly, Caitlin isn't done yet. She's just starting to show us what's possible.